Okay, hello and welcome everybody to our session today. We have Hristina Racheva with us, and she is a localization career coach and head of localization at Skyscanner. And I am Kelsey, marketing manager here at Smartling. So thank you so much for joining. Go ahead and drop in the chat where everyone is calling in from today. I am calling in from New York. And how about you?
I'm in Barcelona. We are getting very cold here, but still sunny and bright. So that's a nice place to be for the winter, I think. At least that's your lucky.
Nice. Okay, London, miserable and rainy. So hopefully you have sunnier weather than there in London.
Yeah, California sounds like a good place to be as well for winter.
Okay, so while people go ahead and run through, if we want to just click through, I will give a quick overview of Smartling and then turn it over to Hristina for today's session. So here at Smartling, I just wanted to share that our mission is to help translate the world's digital content. And so for the last nearly 12 years, Smartling has been working with customers all over the globe to do that. And we are basically the system of record for all of the global content. We're kind of one hub where you can come manage all of your content, translations, localizations, and we have the ability to connect this with content repositories, whether it's content for your product, your marketing, your help centers. All of these things are centralized on the cloud. And this overview just kind of gives a vision of all of the different elements that we offer with both of our software and our services, and how we do that through APIs and proxies and different connectors and integrations with tools that maybe you already use. So this, all of this makes the translation process really turnkey and efficient. So if you'd like to learn more, head over to smartling.com and everything is there. And of course, you can always reach out if you have questions. And so with that, we are really excited to have Hristina back for a third session, this one about building the localization team.
Great. Thanks so much, Kelsey. Thanks for the introduction and for having us here today. The session for today is how to build a localization team, how to nurture and grow. But I told before we dive into that, this is actually our third session. So far we've done one on how to grow in your career, how to even prepare for interviews and CV writing. We then looked at how to gain bigger influence and impact within your organization. So I thought we run just a quick poll now and see how many of you have been with us from the beginning, how many are just joining us right now for the first time. So let's launch the poll and see who do we have today. It feels like we've been on a good journey together so far, and I've spoken with so many of you after the sessions, great feedback and great comments on the content we've covered. So it feels like we've been together for a long time. Let's see. We have, wow, the biggest percentage is their first session for today. That's cool. Great. Okay, I'm gonna bring you here. You can see the poll, right? The results. Yeah, great. So what do we have? We have 60% of you are joining for the first time. Okay, and then we have one person that's been both. But thank you for joining us on both sessions. And the rest kind of for each equally. Great. Well, the good news is that if you were not able to join the previous ones, we have them all recorded, so you can head to the Localization Career Hub on the Smartling website, and you can find the recordings there. Great. So in a way, I'd like to look at this session as sort of a continuation. So we've gone through the sort of a timeline of a manager, localization manager, how they grow into their career, how they build their influence and visibility and their authority within the organization. And one day the day comes where you can actually start hiring for building a team, or maybe you already have a team and you're leading, or maybe you're part of a team. And all of those things that we discussed today will help you in all those situations. So I guess to kick it off, if you can type in the chat, what is your role within the team? You can just type in your own words, like are you team lead? Are you maybe a team of one? Are you just about to start building a team within your company? Are you part of a bigger team? So if you want to type in and tell us where you sit within within your localization team. Let's see, we don't have active typing community today. Let's see who we have. We have Natalie. Hi, Natalie. She's a team of one and she's helping to build a team. For myself, at Skyscanner, we have a team of 7 localization managers in total. We have someone raising a hand. I want to share something. Type. 1 in a team of 2. Okay, great. So this will be helpful. Team of 4. About to become a team lead. That's great. Team leads. All right. And thanks everyone for being part of the conversation, sharing. Amazing. So we do have a good variety. I'm just going through. I'll let you all go through that and see as well who do we have. And great. So I think all of this will be helpful regardless of where you sit within that team space. So we'll go through 3 things today. First, onboarding, what happens and what ideally should happen as we bring someone on our team. We then look at something I find very important, how you learn and grow together as a team and how you make that a team effort. And then last but not least, sort of tips for leaders, for managers, from my own personal experience and challenges I faced growing into the role and what has helped me. So I found that particularly important and important part of the session. So onboarding, we, of course, most of the companies have, sort of administrative and company onboarding process where everyone will go, and then there is a part of the team onboarding. And research has shown that being systematic in onboarding brings new employees to speed 50% faster, which of course is helpful for them being part of the team, feeling like they contribute, but also for the team and effort that they can bring to it. I also found a really nice thought around onboarding should be focusing more on the administrative part. And then once you start getting people within the team and within their tasks and responsibilities, we should be talking about integration, which I found is an interesting concept. And maybe we'll see that more people talking more about that. And the article referred to integration as it's more like an inspirational goal, doing what it takes to make people fully functioning member of the team and getting them part of it, integrating them within the team and their role. So there are a few key areas that I think are important within the onboarding process. But first, what is your role as a manager? Of course, everyone within the team, usually there's several people who would contribute to the onboarding process. But of course, your role as a manager is highly critical because on one hand, you're the one that interviewed and hired the person, you're the one that understands what is needed within the team, the areas to work on, to improve, and the challenges you're facing. So you'll be the one to understand how that person can be integrated, what the approach they should take. And of course, as a manager, you have the biggest stake in getting people onboarded as effectively and as quick as possible. So the first thing really to kind of always have in mind is understanding their challenges. Of course, it's hard for new hires to get part of a culture of a company, even if they're experienced, they're senior, because it's not, they don't understand the business, they don't understand how things work, how the culture is, they don't have established relationships. And because it's a time where everyone of these new hires need to learn a lot, they might be feeling quite vulnerable, even if they seem quite confident on the outside. So, some individuals might play it safe and stick to what they already know, while others may overcompensate. So they think like or act like they already know the answer, rather than asking questions and admitting that they don't know and they're struggling. So it's really important to reassure them that at the beginning, learning is more important than actually doing things. And I find myself oftentimes to speak to new joiners. It's guys kind of outside my team. And one thing that I tell everyone is just take this time to read and to learn, because these 3 months at the beginning, they're for you to learn. So don't worry about doing things. There's so much to learn at any company. So just you're given that opportunity and time just to read, just take that for yourself. And again, individuals might feel like they need to prove their value, and it's important to reassure them. And as I was working on this this session, just literally yesterday, I read through a blog internally within Skyscanner, and there was an employee who was writing about their first few months at Skyscanner and their good things and bad things and their impressions. And there was, I swear, this is a literal quote from that person who said that remotely has been a little tough joining the team. And he's someone that thrives on being in and among the hustle and bustle. And at times it's been challenging to reassure myself that it's okay not to know how it all just works yet. And they continue saying that it was their line manager that repeatedly reminded them not to pressure themselves. And it was so amazing that I saw this so randomly and just confirming that point that new hires need that reassurance. Great. So then once you kind of understand and know and you're in their mind and assure them they can take the time, it's important to make them part of the team. First and foremost, it's important that everyone on the team understands even the role of this person, why they've been hired and what role they will play. And actually, sometimes you might not know yet, and that's okay. But again, be clear with that and be clear that there are certain areas where they could influence or work within the team, and you'll figure out what exactly their role will be later down the line. Another important aspect is to just allow for some informal and personal time for everyone on the team to connect with the individual. So you can set up informal sessions, and again, not so much about work, but in a way that they can connect informally on a human-to-human basis, kind of what they have in common, what maybe their previous experience has been, and also every individual can kind of discuss about what their role is in the team, how they're contributing, and allowing for that connection. Next, you can help them with as a manager is to connect them with the key stakeholders that they will be working with closer, or that can help them with the onboarding process. So maybe kind of have a list of names that they can reach out to, including brief notes on each of the individual, each of the stakeholder, in what way they would help them, in what way they're relevant to the localization team. Of course, make the introductions. And, you can also have that identifying the individuals and how they will be helpful later as well. And last but not least, help them get early wins. So again, we talked how individuals early on, they want to bring value, they want to be part of the team, they want to have impact. So it's important in the moment also to help them build confidence and credibility. And again, it's your job as a manager to help them focus on what type of work they should prioritize, because again, new hires tend to kind of spread themselves to think they want to have that impact, they want to be able to do too much too soon, and you can help them with identifying what's most important for them to focus on. And this is the part where you can work on building an onboarding plan, so some sort of a structured list of what are the tools and processes maybe that they need to be familiar with that user team work with. What are their role and the responsibilities within their role that they will be expected to do, and maybe have sort of a monthly plan. So by end of month one, these and these are the tools you should be familiar with, or this is the level of familiarity. So the way that I've done it in the past is by month one, you should have overview of all the tools and processes. By end of month two, have some sort of proficiency and autonomy, but work with an individual on the team to support you. And then by month three, maybe have that autonomy and being able to execute on your own. And it's helpful to have that in a sort of a schedule, in a plan. And we've had that feedback within the team that has helped them having it even, so that's the kind of high level monthly overview, and you can break it down per week what exactly the focus would be, with links to the resources, links to maybe courses or reading internally that they need to do. And that gives that kind of independence in a way and visibility of the new joiner, that they know what they will be doing and who they will be working with throughout the first few weeks and months.
We had a question come through that I just want to ask, that Tico asked, are there any differences if you're working with contractors with onboarding, or in general, do these same rules apply?
You mean contractors as external, maybe external?
Yeah, from what I understand, like, more freelance work compared to someone full-time.
That's a really good question, and I think not full time. Yeah, I think you could easily use this as for them as well, because you know how when we work with external teams or external providers, we often find the challenge that maybe they don't understand enough, maybe how the company works, how the team works. So I would say this would be, if you have the time and you have the time to get that person or team onboarded, you could use those as well. And all of these are just to get the individual as familiar as possible and assured and confident. So I'd say you can use those. Thanks for the question. So moving on, still within the onboarding, it's good to have in mind that onboarding is what I say multidimensional. And there is like a few ways that we can look at it. On one hand, there is the breadth of it, and then a depth. So when we say breadth, there are three different aspects. Technical, so understanding and not just the team, but generally as the business. What are the fundamentals of the business, of the company, of the products and services you sell? What are the customers that you work with, kind of customer profile? What are the technologies you use, the system? So that understanding how the business operates. Then there is the cultural, learning about the attitudes, behavior, the values within the company and the culture, and how they're unique in a way to the organization. And then there's the political, to an interesting way, but basically understanding how decisions are made, how power and influence work, figuring out who will be most supportive within the role, within the team, and who support them need the most. So that's on that breadth level. And then we go deeper. And that's kind of learning about, on one hand, the company structure and strategy. So what is the vision for the organization? Where does a localization team fit within this vision? Which teams do you generally work with? And I like to use the internal tool where you can, spy and stalk on everyone, like individuals that I maybe talk with at the beginning of my role. I will go into the tool and look, okay, who's that person? Where do they sit? Which team are they part of? What department is this team part of? Who's their manager? Kind of building little pieces of the puzzle in your head and going, understanding everyone where they work and what's their role, and how you work with them as a team and as an individual, and helps you build that little picture. Then again, going deeper, then we have the departments, Tribe, what we call it, Skyscanner, and other tech companies as well. So introduction to the department, how localization fits within this department. Again, what are the common goals for the teams within this department? How do you collaborate? What are the leaders and the leads within the space? What are their roles? And then we're going into the localization team. And I always find it interesting to share, like, what's the story of localization within Skyscanner, for example, where we were a few years ago, where are we now, what helped us there, kind of making individuals feel like they're already part of this story and they belong to the team, even though they just joined, knowing the history. So again, find it interesting to look at breadth and depth for this and looking at all the aspects when it comes to the familiarizing with the business and the team. So in order to kind of end this, and I guess there are so many different onboarding processes, and each company and team will have their own, a lot of times positive and negative, or just different positive and negative aspects of each. So feel free to type in the chat if you think back of your own onboarding process, maybe the last onboarding process you went through. What's one thing that made it unexpectedly interesting or helpful, or had a big difference on your onboarding? Something that was particularly helpful that you could share for others. casual virtual happy hours to get to know the team. Of course, casual is always good. I will talk about having fun as a team later on. A good practice that some companies have is allocating a buddy to a new starter. So I find it's better to be someone outside of the localization team, because that will give this person kind of that insight and knowledge of how the company operates, and maybe their knowledge of how they have. Getting a mentor before even joining, that's a really nice one. And I know some companies do that, or you get to speak with your hiring manager even before. So that's a good idea. Because of course the onboarding starts before you even join the company, right? Game over. Yes, again, we'll touch on some games later in the session. That's always fun to do as a team. Great. Well, thanks for writing. If anything comes to mind, I wonder if it just means that onboarding experience is not always great, so we don't have that many suggestions and ideas here, but great. So moving on to the second part, where we talk about a big area, quite important for, I guess, any team, but even more so for localization, so learning and growing together. As a team, I came up with this, I don't know if it's a real quote, but teams who learn together, grow together, and stay together. So let's see what those activities can be. I guess in general, learning is important, and in this ever-changing technology world that we live. But even more so as localization teams, it's important for us to be on top of everything, not within the localization, but also within the disciplines we interact with the most within our organization. So how can we learn together as a team and make that a team activity? And I found this really nice quote that alone we're smart and together we're brilliant. So how can we build that culture, team culture of brilliance through learning and sharing knowledge? So something that, and also like doing it together, it makes it more fun and makes everyone more accountable, more engaged to be doing this as an individual and as a team. Something that has worked well is scheduling learning times within your calendar. Literally block could be 1 or 2, 3 hours every week for learning time. And something that's really helpful is do that at the same time as a team. So maybe depending on what part of the week might be best, but could be a Friday afternoon, 2 hours learning block, and you can either as a team watch videos together or just have that individual time. And why is it so important to have it blocked in your calendar? So by putting it in the calendar, we signal that this is important, that learning is an integral part of our job. And actually within our team, within our competency framework, we have added the expectations to continuously learn and implement learning within our jobs as an expectation for our goals. So that's how important we think learning is. By having it also in your calendar, you signal to each other that this time you're busy, so others will not schedule meetings, will not plan activities. And this way also it's much easier to prioritize when things start getting busy, when maybe they're urgent, you know how it is, urgent requests coming in. So putting it there, it's like, this is part of my job. I've booked that and meeting, almost like a meeting there, so we have to do it in a way. What could be also helpful is scheduling sharing time together. So every individual may have their own preferences, what they would like to learn. It sometimes could be a team that you've identified as a team that you want to read about. Maybe you want to find out more as a team about machine translation. So everyone can read on that, and then you come together in a sharing session and you share what you found out, what are the key takeaways, and you have a discussion. Or just the way that we have it, for example, is we have a bi-weekly session where everyone talks about learnings, and could be on localization, could be on any other topic that we personally done. Actually, I had someone from the previous session that we had here, they wrote me later saying that they were going to do a team session where they would watch the recording of the webinar and then together discuss as a team some of the takeaways and what they can apply themselves within their team. So like doing the sharing sessions is really helpful to start thinking not about what we've learned, but how we want to use that learning, how we want to implement it. And that's the most impactful thing of learning, right? Being able to put it in practice. So then when we look about what should we be learning as a localization team and individuals, of course, a lot within the localization space, but also we always try to focus on non-localization learnings, and that can be depending on what you are as a team focused on. Maybe you're working closely with the marketing teams right now and want to deep dive into marketing best practices, maybe how they measure performance, how they measure success, and want to grow as a team in that area. Or topics that I share a lot with my team is maybe how to give successful presentations, how to influence without authority. So different topics, not just localization focus. Something else that's important as a learning is cross-functional, so understanding what are the teams that you're currently working on, what is their focus, and one way you can do that is invite sort of speakers from different teams that can talk about, you can have sort of a schedule, and maybe teams from design, from customer satisfaction, from marketing, from different parts of the business can come and give a talk to your team, deep dive, what are they working on right now, what are the challenges, and even though you might not necessarily work with them, it gives that broader understanding for the localization team of the business, and this maybe potential opportunities for collaboration or impact. And lastly, we've done that as well, and I've seen other teams do that. You can have external speakers. You can have maybe someone within the localization industry or not that you know and that you maybe chatted in the past, and have them over to give a talk about something that they worked on that can be relevant for the team. So in any way, just creating opportunities where you learn, share the learning, and decide how to do that, and making it part of the culture as a team. Moving on into how we grow individually and how we grow as a team, we'll touch on the culture of building a culture of feedback. And unfortunately, oftentimes when we talk about processes of giving and receiving feedback, it's really focused, well, not many companies have that developed, and even if they do, it's really kind of areas around areas you need to improve, and people really don't have that confidence or that close relationship to be really open with each other, because the ultimate aim of giving feedback is being able to help each other identify our blind spots and areas that are holding us back, and areas that we need to focus in order to be able to express fully ourselves in our careers. So in order to be able to do that, we need to have as teams psychological safety. And I'm sure many of you, if not all, have heard of talking about psychological safety and how that's important for a team. So in a mini summary, that's the feeling of feeling safe to be vulnerable and take risks in front of teammates, to believe that you won't be punished when you make mistakes. And teams that have strong psychological safety, they're less afraid of the negative consequences that may result from making mistakes, taking actions, sharing opinions, being candid, very important, being candid with one another. And this is by having that psychological safety as a team, is an environment where you can grow and you can be open with each other. So how can you identify, how do you know if your team has psychological safety? So there is sort of an assessment plan that was developed by the lady, she's called Amundsen, developed the psychological safety principle. And this is sort of an adjustment to that assessment that we've used within my team. So these are questions. So it's sort of like a survey that you send anonymously to your team. You can even take a screenshot of these questions if you want, or you can find the original survey online. This has been adapted to that. So this is a survey you send to your team anonymously. Questions like, when I make a mistake, it's not helping instantly, or people in the team are accepting others' opinion. It is safe to take risks. It is easy to ask for help, and my talents are valued and utilized. So you have a list of questions, and you ask everyone to evaluate how strongly they agree or disagree with those statements. Again, anonymously. and you look at the results. So you can have points as well. If strongly disagree, for example, 1 point, and strongly agree, 4 points. And if you have most of the answers are strongly agree, then you do have a culture or a team where individuals feel safe to share and to disagree. If you're somewhere in between, and again, it will be anonymous, but you can look within the individual responses. If maybe most of the people think or believe there is psychological safety, but 1 or 2 don't. So that's already a way to look into that deeper and understand how can you improve that. So there are different ways, and that's a different topic, but kind of just even starting with the point of if the team feels safe, it's a good indication and something that will help you with later the exercises and building that culture together. So how can you develop a culture of feedback, especially in a way that you can help each other grow? And again, giving feedback should be about helping each other identify blind spots and what's holding them back. And if you feel safe within the team, you can be candid about sharing that. And it's really amazing when you create that culture and you look at feedback from that perspective, the energy and the interaction when people are so willing to share with each other their blind spots and what's holding them back, it's really amazing to experience that. So what actually makes receiving feedback so hard, and why usually this process of feedback so great in theory but so hard to have in process a meaningful feedback culture? So there are 2 things that make it so hard or to even just receive feedback. And that's because hearing something about ourselves, receiving usually negative feedback, strikes at the intersection of 2 core human needs. And that's the need to learn and to grow and to develop, and the need to be accepted as we are. So if we receive feedback around maybe something we didn't do well, we didn't perform well, it immediately makes us think that we're not accepted, that we're not kind of part of the community anymore, that we're not seen as we are, that we've been attacked. And that's what makes it so hard. So the importance and getting better at receiving feedback is understanding and managing those feelings. And I talk a lot about this because I found how important and what a difference it makes if there is the right way of looking at culture. And I learned that, it's not something I developed. I learned that from an amazing HBR article that I turned into a workshop for my team where we get to build that. And just 3 key things from that article in this workshop that we did is there are 3 key triggers that makes us so uncomfortable, and understanding those triggers that we might have on a personal level makes it easier then for us to break down the feedback and receive it in a way that it will be helpful for us in our growth. So the 3 key triggers are truth trigger. So that's the content of the feedback. Maybe someone tells you something and you feel like this is not true and does not reflect who you are. The relationship trigger. So it's just not so much about the content, but the person. Usually the reaction is like, who is that person to tell me what I should do, what should I not do? They're not even more senior than me. These are kind of things that sometimes come to mind when we reject the person giving us the feedback and we don't even listen to the feedback. And then identity again, something around kind of questioning our perception of ourselves. So understanding those triggers and taking the time to understand what we are usually triggered by, because sometimes it's 1 or 2 of these, they will help us next time to be better at receiving and also comfortable with giving. So now that what are the Kelsey, did you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in that we had a question asked is about psychological safety, and is that related to the management style in a company or team?
That's a good question because it is related. I think sometimes as a company, it should be something that is worked on, that is encouraged, that already exists at a company level. And it's so much easier to do it at a team level. It will be harder the other way around, where the culture itself does not necessarily focus on that, the company culture. But I don't think it will prevent you from doing that within your team. So I think even if the company is not such that focuses on that or encourages this. I think you as a team lead, and again, you don't have to be a team manager to be putting any of this in place. Actually, even better if you're part of a team, you can take the ownership and suggest doing some of those activities yourself or help the team manager do that. And yeah, even if it's not the culture focus and the culture within the company such, you can take actions to build that within your team and to nurture that within the team with some of those activities. Great, thanks. Great question. And once you are at the stage where you feel comfortable and have that safety, these are a few questions that I've been using over maybe the last year and a half when I ask for feedback. And I ask for feedback either within my team or externally that I work with stakeholders. So questions around what can I do differently that will have biggest impact on my success, on my career. So you're not asking anymore, what am I doing wrong, but rather, what is that one thing that will help me get better? And when you put it in that perspective, is whatever they say, you're like, okay, this will help me succeed better and faster and have more impact. And it really changes the energy around those questions. So others are similar again. I just today actually shared them with our accessibility lead. I work very closely with her, and she's like, I love this, I'm going to use them for myself. So these questions really can help. Also help the person you ask for feedback change as well their perception, and they're in a space of thinking, okay, how can I help this person improve? So yeah, those could be helpful for you and for the people you actually ask for feedback from. All right.
And so Nina, if you would like to come off of mute and ask your question, you can go ahead. Looks like it has you muted though. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, let's move. Maybe that was a mistake. So we can just keep moving.
That's okay. Yeah, that was we have a question here for the chat. If anyone wants to share, so again, usually this is a very kind of delicate space of creating a culture of sharing feedback and giving feedback. So if you want, there's anything that comes to mind that has helped you get to a better place or helped you be more effective, comfortable, if you want to share. We've already shared a lot, but if anyone has anything they found successful. Like I personally shared this article from the HBR of understanding those triggers now with everyone I speak, because it's such a great way to understand what's holding you back, what's kind of triggering you, and then being much more open to hearing what can help you improve. Okay, so we have a comment from Natalie that maybe you need to unmute individuals. Let's try next time someone raises their hand. Listen more, talk less. That's a good. But especially when you ask someone for feedback, right? When they share feedback, understand that there are many different ways of giving feedback, which is often very much related to person's culture. Of course, great points. Culture comes into play in so many aspects, including giving and receiving feedback. One thing also that I learned, because I used to get triggered so much in the past, just again, because it was my culture where I come from in a way. And I was working with a colleague from the UK, and I had to give him some kind of hard feedback. And it was so hard for me to do that. And when I shared it with him, the first thing he said is, thank you so much. This is so helpful. And for me, it was like, oh my God, it made it so much easier for me because the person received it in a kind of open way. So from then on, I've been trying also to just be thankful every time someone tells me, even though internally it hurts me, but I'm like, thank you. How think about it? So just thanking simply, it's also so simple and yet makes the other person at ease when they share it.
Yeah, something that has been effective on our team is sharing feedback but coming into the space when you know you're going to share feedback. So kind of that person is prepared to receive it.
Yeah, that's great. So now that we've reached the space as a team, where you have this psychological safety, you're learning together and growing, of course, especially in tech companies, especially in agile software development. There is a big focus on improving, iterating, what can we keep doing better? And I say agile development because you're probably all, most of you here familiar with the software, like agile software way of working. There are lots of ceremonies and processes, and depending on the company that you're part of, so say within my company, we're like very software focused. So we have all those processes for traditional engineering squads and teams, but we also use some of them ourselves despite not being engineering teams. So we have the daily scrums or the daily sessions, and where you meet every day for 15 minutes and you share what you're working on. We've adapted that ourselves for 3 times a week instead of 1. We do have sprint planning. So at the beginning of every week, we should discuss what we'll focus on. We also have retrospectives. Probably a few of you would have done that. So you don't have to be part of an agile product engineering team to have these. Retrospective is a very common one, where you look at things that went well, things that didn't go well, and things you want to do differently as a team. So you can do that on a bi-weekly or monthly basis, and have different teams and topics that you can base that on. But I wanted to chat on, or to focus on, one particular process as part of the Agile framework, and that's something called a team health check. So there are different formats out there. Again, as most of these, they are particularly for engineering teams, but you can easily adapt it for yours. So this is a standard one for an engineering team. There are several categories. You choose the category, and then there is a clear definition of each, and each team member has to, so in this case, we have 5 individuals. They have to evaluate where they think as a team fit, or where the team sits within this. So green, we're in good state, good shape, good stage. Yellow, yeah, we have some problems, but overall it's okay. And green is bad, things are not working. So by having these health checks, usually maybe you can do those every few months. We do them every 6 months. You get an understanding of the team's kind of, this is sort of like a temperature check, how the team feels about the processes. So the psychological safety is more about the relationship, and this is more about processes, collaborations, tools we use, ways of working, and like if it's efficient, where you want to improve, what's working well. And by doing that, again, it increases the collaboration. You understand what's not working or what's working. So these are, again, this one is like a standard one that engineering teams use, and these are some of the categories that we've used within my team, and again with the broader teams within my company. So categories like alignment. Does everyone within the team understand what we're doing and what we're doing that as a kind of a high-level team strategy and vision? Also, do we have clear role and responsibilities? And this is particularly helpful for a bigger team, or as the team grows, to kind of revisit and see if collaboration is still as efficient. So these are different categories. Everyone would score or evaluate where they think the team sits within this. And again, you will look at the areas where you have mostly green spots, and it means going well, keep doing what you're doing. Areas where you have mostly red, and you identify as a focus, and to look into that, what you can do differently and improve. So areas could be processes. Do we regularly improve our processes? Do we have documentation? Do we have effective sessions? Motivation. Do we always feel positively part of the team? Do we have sufficient autonomy? Do we do something that's meaningful to us? So these are just categories. Again, you can integrate different categories based on what you do with the team, what you want to evaluate. It's best as other things to keep them the same over time, so you can compare how the team changes. And again, if you do that every few months, seeing where the team sits and what's working and what's not working. All right, enough with processes and I know the serious stuff. We're moving into the fun part. And again, we had a few comments here about how to bring people together, how to get onboarded, doing kind of informal things. So we like also to do fun activities together, and all of those that I'll share just an ideas, and they can all be done as well online. Things that you can do when you, especially when you have new people joining the team, things that we've done is I came up with this picture game. So we had a few people were joining the team. So half of the team was new and half was old. So I had everyone draw a picture of their life story and send it to me. So then only I would know who was the person who drew that and sent it to me. So then I'll show each picture to the team and we ask them to guess, who is this person? What do you think is this life story, this painting, this drawing? And then they got to walk us through as well and explain. So that was a really nice way to get to know each other. And that's actually the team that it's cool to do fun activities, but it's even better if they're fun and that help you get to know each other better and build that psychological safety, build that connection through getting to know each other better in a fun way. Another fun way, fun game you can do around personality is find a list of 50 personality traits and descriptions and say you're 3 people on the team. Everyone on the team has to define or pick 5 adjectives from this list that define me, for example, and they all put it in one place. And I have to do the same. I'll pick 5 adjectives from the same list that define me. And then you compare, these are the adjectives that I identify myself with. And these are the adjectives that everyone else on the team would pick to define me or to describe better than define. And it's fun to see how others perceive you versus how you perceive yourself. That's a kind of a fun way as well to see how well you know each other. Another fun thing to do when you get to know each other is some of those personality and psychometric tests where it's like focused on personality, introverts, extroverts, and different ways of collaborating and just taking time to discuss through that and see how either that relates to you or not, and then what that would mean for collaborating together. Another fun game that we've done is a virtual treasure hunt. It was amazing. So you have, as the lead, you have a list of things that you want people to find. So for example, go find a sock with dots and lines. And they have like 10 seconds. Everyone from the team spreads around their house, start running, looking for objects. And the first person to find and bring it to the camera, they get a point. Or like find a book that has over 500 pages, or find a frozen pizza box, like random things. So that makes it also engaging and interactive. So these are just few ideas that we've done with my team, and again combining the fun but getting to know each other. And of course, now with Christmas, great. Every time there is some sort of a holiday, it's also a great team to pick up for a game, for a discussion, for a collaboration, for a fun one. So these are some of the games that I've done with my team. Again, up to you. Is there anything that you want to share as a game that's been particularly a hit within your team, with your company? I know there are lots of drawing games at the beginning of COVID, trying to find out what games can be done online at the beginning, but anything else that's here? Someone mentioned earlier, we got informal drinks and coffee catch-ups. We actually have, I don't know if other people, other companies have that, but it's kind of, we have something that we call virtual donut, I think. So it's an add-on to Slack, where it automatically, every week, automatically picks a random person from the company and connects you with that person. And then you can have like a 15-minute coffee catch up with this person. So kind of as a way to meet different people across the business. I think that's been pretty successful. Oh yeah, there's someone's writing about the truth and lie. Especially, I think it's better if you don't know well yet the team with the truth and lie, because if you're very good already as a team, it's easy to guess what's truth and what's a lie with new hires. Yeah, I think the games with like drawing and doing something with hands and stuff, it's always fun. Great. Okay, moving on. I keep checking the time. We're good. All right. So now all of those things we shared, or I've shared, and we went through until now, they were really about the team and how you can build the team, how you can help the team. Now the things I will go through now are more about you as a leader and as a manager, because it is a really hard role and hard job, big responsibility. So these are kind of tips for you. Again, we're trying to kind of get everyone to share, but if anyone here has faced particular challenges, being a team manager, team leads, maybe the first role when they stepped into that, or maybe now, if you want to share what's been the most challenging for you. If you want to also speak, if that's easier. No challenges, that's good. Maybe what was shared is already good for you. Okay, so one thing that I've learned myself in this process is a reminder to ask for help. So I think it's incredibly hard to be a manager, and it's even harder to be a good manager. And to be honest, at least you never think you're a good manager. You always doubt yourself, and you're always doubting if people are happy, if you're doing the right thing, what is even the right thing. So there is a lot going on in your mind. There is lots of kind of crushing self-doubt. That's how I feel a lot of times. So, and again, I've been a line manager, people manager for maybe 4 years now. So it's not that long either, right? I have my whole life to learn and to improve. But at the same time, contrary to popular belief, or contrary to many other things, it does not get easier with time, because the challenges are different. The individuals you manage are different. Even if it's the same individuals, they go through different challenges themselves. The circumstances are different. And by different, I mean more complex and more difficult and more challenging. So it doesn't feel like it gets better, but it feels like you're more resistant. At least that's my experience as well. So that's why it's so important to ask for help, to have a community of managers that you can rely on. Again, in my company, we have a network of managers. For example, within the Barcelona office, we get together every 2 or 3 weeks and we discuss like challenges, support, anything really. So having that network, again, if it's not something that is present in your company, you can be the one to do that, or you can just create your own and have a few individuals that you can always go to if you are struggling with maybe direct report, if you have a challenge, if you're in doubt. And the biggest kind of benefits of having someone is, most of the times they will encourage you that you've done the best you could, and that is just enough to give you a peace of mind. So ask for help. There are people that are there to support you or just to share their experience.
Sorry, we had a question come through about, well, these are really great suggestions. Are there any particular things that apply to localization teams that you think might be different than, building any other type of team?
Good question, but I think a lot of them are for localization teams because they kind of like having the onboarding. One thing that we went through is having an introduction session for the localization individual who joins the team of the company and how the company works and what are the different kind of departments that maybe you collaborate with, or what are the areas where are most impactful for you. Then going into your department again, so having that understanding with localization in mind. Or the learning about localization, but also beyond, getting people from the business come and share about the business to the team. So I feel like, yes, there are in general, but some of these have in particular. And also, I don't think beyond kind of understanding the business and how we impact, I wouldn't say we have more bigger differences just because we're a localization team. And that's the interesting part. A lot of the challenges we face as a localization team, I've talked about it in the past, it feels like, we're the only one and we have to fight and to get visibility and we have to get the buy-in. And then you talk to other disciplines within the business and they have the exact same challenges like design, accessibility, UX writing, depending on your business, but other teams have the same challenges. So I think we shouldn't necessarily focus on us as as a localization world is different either. We have another question. I wonder if you want to take that or
yeah, that one's a little more general. We can take that at the end if you want to just keep going.
I'm just conscious of time. I'm going to speak too quickly. So yeah, be kind to yourself, because being a manager is really hard. Again, it is for any manager, so it's for general, but it is hard, and it's kind of, it's an opportunity as well. At least that's been my experience, to understand my own challenges. And it's like being a manager is like looking at a mirror, and everything reflects back onto you. So you're continuously learning and growing, but be kind to yourself. And in the interest of time, skip through to the last one, so we have a few time for the questions as well at the end. But you will not always have all the answers. And I also think in these times that we live, it's unreasonable to expect that the manager will have all the answers. Like, we tend to look into them with like this guide and this someone who gives us the assurance and the knowledge, but it's unrealistic. And I think as today's managers, our responsibility is more to guide, to inspire, to motivate individuals on the team, to kind of bring the business need perspective to the team and how they relate to that, more than having all the answers. Especially, the more senior we become, localization in this case, or our discipline knowledge, is less important, but rather how do we build all of these things that we said just now, building the psychological safety, the efficiency within the team. And then if there are things that you don't know, by admitting that you don't know yet, that you're not sure, it also allows the team and the individuals themselves to say that they don't know when the time comes and when they're not sure. So going back to psychological safety, so just be open when you don't know, and that will invite them also to be open at the end. All right, I'm gonna end it here, just so that we can take a question or two.
Yeah, and before we do, we'll just add that for those of you who attended today, if you'd like to have a one-on-one coaching session with Hristina, let me know and we will get that set up. Compliments of Smartling. And so with that, yeah, we had a question come in that says, what is a useful way to divide tasks within a localization team? So perhaps by content, by website, blog, help center, or by project. What is your experience with dividing up tasks within a team?
It's a great question. What I've seen work well and what we've done ourselves, we divided it per type of work in a way. So we have individuals that work, and that depends also on your company, because in our case, we had a bigger focus on marketing and grow marketing within the business, like increasing the marketing organization. So we dedicated several individuals working just on marketing and building relationships and collaboration. Then we have individuals working on what we call operations, so day-to-day project management processes. You can have, depending on the size of the team, again, the business, individuals on process improvement, optimization, tooling, individuals focused on quality processes and vendor management. So depending, I'd say, how big is the team and the needs, but by not so much content, but by focus area or sort of business area within localization has worked well for us.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think that is it. Unless there are any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in Q&A. Otherwise, I think we will.
How about cultural disagreement? Which I can answer super quickly. It's a great question, and I think localization teams probably are in the best position to know that cultural disagreements could exist. So it's always good to even talk it out and acknowledging what is, and again, acknowledging and sharing what is it that's different in this culture that either you observe, maybe if you're the one that observed that, or the person who feels like they're maybe not treated correctly or adequately because of that. So at the end, it's just talking about it and clarifying, really, because usually it's because individuals don't know that they're doing those kind of miscultural blends.
Yeah, great call. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We will wrap it up here and we'll be in touch. Hope to see you all soon.
Amazing. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for those who joined us on all 3 sessions, and you have them also recorded as well.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.